Today on Miss Pursuit, Chef Brie Van Scotter of Wilderness to Table is joining us for a conversation about wild game cooking. We're going to hear a couple of exciting new things that are coming up for her and discuss what it's like to take it full circle from hunting all the way to the dinner table and the importance of how you do that. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another Miss Pursuit podcast. Today, we have a special guest from Wilderness to Table, Chef Brie Van Scotter. Thank you, Brie, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is going to be a fun conversation. I have been looking forward to this. In fact, yesterday, so I've watched a couple of your shows on Amazon, Wilderness to Table. We love it. My daughter and I sat there and we just watched.
How cute.
Because we love cooking shows and we love learning, but then you add wild game to it and we're hooked. So we had been watching them, and I think we watched the one with you making the, it was a venison Wellington, right? And Wellington's one of my favorite things to cook, with a venison tenderloin or backstrap, whichever one, or both of them together. And it had me craving a Wellington, but I don't have any more tenderloin to put in that hasn't been butterflied. So I pulled out my snow goose from a conservation hunt. We brought home.
I think I saw your post this morning.
It surprised me because, goose is much more gamey than venison. And so
Correct.
I had to figure out, and it's very hard to find a recipe online for this. So I ended up kind of meshing together what I had done with my venison Wellington and a couple of recipes on goose, trying to kind of, with a brine and all of that, trying to work it together. And it came out surprisingly well. There were a couple things that I will tweak in the future. Since I brined the goose breast in the beginning, I decided I probably could hold back on some of the seasoning in the mushrooms and also but my kids sat around, they emptied their plates. It was so good.
Oh, good.
So it ended up well, but it had me craving a Wellington. And when you don't have venison, I'm searching my freezer going, okay, what can I use? What can I use? But it turned out good. Yeah. So you inspired me this week to cook.
Oh, I love that.
Cook something really good for the family. And, I don't think that we have bought beef in, it's been over 2 years that I've bought beef, just because of the bounty that we have been blessed with through wild game.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. So that's all to get started into who you are, because I love, you have an article on your webpage, and it's kind of in your face, right? It's about what it's like to be questioned by other hunters. Are you a real hunter?
Yeah, I got a lot of comments about it. I got a lot of feedback from that one.
Like I am a real hunter. I am someone who goes out and hunts for these recipes, for, who you're cooking for yourself. And so that's kind of why I want to get started hearing how you were inspired into the outdoors and hunting, and some of your favorite stories of hunting. Just let's hear it. Let's get it out there. You are a real hunter.
Well, I hunt for food. So I don't trophy hunt. No. If I can't eat it, I don't hunt it. I've been a professional chef for, let's age myself, a long time. Over 10 years.
Okay.
Way more than 10. Okay, over 10.
Okay.
And I had a very awesome career in fine dining, and was able to work in some of the United States' most recognized restaurants. So that was fun. And then I was in California, and I ended up teaching culinary school at one of my alma maters, because I went to I did culinary school. I went to 2 different ones and got 2 different degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up teaching at my alma mater, and I was teaching my students how to design menus and using fresh local ingredients. And then we would go to gardens, and then it's like, well, I can't take them to factory farms because that's horrible, but we tried to source as much local produce as possible. But it was that I've always had the passion for organic meat, protein, fish,
Mm-hmm.
Vegetables, fruit, anything that I can get my hands on because it tastes so much better. And then my culinary school in Napa was a huge influence on me wanting to start sourcing my own protein. I've kind of always have because my dad's a professional saltwater bass angler.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up fishing and doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
But in California, hunting is not necessarily it's not a good thing in
Mm-hmm.
California. They don't really like that. And then I worked for some product development that included factory farms, and I should have been a lawyer so I could change our food system.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is all like long story short, I ended up moving to Georgia with my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in a sporting goods store, like right when we moved here. And I was like, a bow, that'd be just fun to do, And then sure enough, he bought me the bow, and I was out there like in my backyard shooting arrows. And 6 months later, I was like, I was in a deer stand, and I got my first doe on opening day.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't stopped since. And then when I got my doe, I was searching recipes for wild game, and then I'm like, I know how to grill a backstrap and I know how to make a popper, but there's so much more to this beautiful animal than just those 2 mundane things.
Yes.
So I started my blog just to show what a chef would do in her kitchen with chef inspired recipes that are very approachable in your own kitchen. And then it took off.
Which is a blessing.
Yeah. So, that's how it all got started. It was the chef in me that really just wanted to source pure organic protein. And that led me to hunting.
Well, I think that that's the most organic way to get into it. I mean, we keep saying organic food, but the way to grow yourself, either as a chef or a hunter or an outdoorsman, is in a very organic, clean way. It's something that we look for. It's something that I look for in people to surround myself to encourage me into the same like-minded ways. And so it is something that I appreciate, just that organic growth of mindset into where you want your food to come from. And it does, I think you've talked about it before, there's something about a full circle menu, knowing where they have eaten, where they have come from, what environment they have lived in, being able to source that food through harvesting, knowing exactly how it's been processed and aged and cared for through time before you even begin to put a recipe to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I was excited to read through some of, the things that you've said in the past on that kind of mindset. And I don't know, I've talked with tons of people about, sitting down at the table, whether it's with my family or friends or people who have never had wild game before, and we sit down to eat and there's a story behind it. So not only are you eating something that is fresh and good and you know where it came from and there's no antibiotics, there's no hormones or anything in it, but you also get to sit there and share a story, whether it's from an animal that I've harvested or my husband or my 10-year-old son graced us with a deer this year. So it's been fun to sit. I mean, I've talked about this also with people. The meal, whether it's with whoever you are with, it centralizes people. It's relational, and cooking is as well. I think that's why they've made kitchens open floor plans, right? So that people can enjoy being around everybody while they cook.
Right.
Yep. Okay. What is one of your favorite hunts that you've been on? I've got a lot of people who, not a lot of people, a few people that I've told that I was having conversation with you. And the overwhelming question was, what was your favorite hunt and what is your favorite wild game to cook?
Oh, gosh, my favorite hunt.
Putting you on the spot.
I know. I love spearfishing. So that will probably trump everything because I really am a secret mermaid and I just feel so at home in the ocean. So spearfishing would be number one. And then land would be my bear.
Okay.
That's amazing. Yeah. It was probably my longest shot and one shot, and it was just never been on a bear hunt and got one. So it was like the first bear I saw, first shot. It's also the first time I got scoped. I was so intent on the bear, and I was kind of in a ditch and then got scoped. But so I forever have this mark on my forehead of my bear. But I mean, it was so freaking awesome.
I know.
I needed stitches, but oh well, it's fine.
I've been there too. I think I ended up with 14 stitches in my eyebrow from being scope kissed. So everybody,
it happened.
It does. I would say it has happened, or it has not happened to the less amount of people out there. I bet if we took a poll, you'd have more hands raised than not raised.
Right.
It's just kind of a rite of passage. But where did you hunt the bear?
I was in British Columbia, Canada.
Okay. Yeah. I have yet to hunt bear, but I have been very interested in the recipes that can come from that. And I've talked with a couple people who really, really love their bear recipes and eating it. So
it's delicious.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. And I've also heard it really does. The difference is what they're eating, right? And that goes back to that full circle discussion. Like, what is your food eating? What is their food? I think it brings out.
Well, spring bear or fall bear is always going to be better than spring bear because fall bears, they're obviously eating like more berries and stuff like that, getting ready to hibernate. So those are going to be tastier. Spring bear, not so much. They just came out of hibernation. So there's like not as much fat on them, which is the ultimate delicious part. But still very good. That's a
good note. Like I'm writing it down for future notice. If I can book a bear hunt, let's do some fall bear. Yeah, that is something that I think most people might think about. The deer that we eat. I know what they are grazing on. I know what they're eating, but I've also been told, there are a lot of people out there that eat predators, and it really does depend on what your food is eating, on how it changes their taste. So it's interesting.
It's like wine.
It is like wine. I mean,
you can taste it.
Even fish are different, whether you're eating from the bottom dwellers like catfish all the way up to saltwater fish. Just it depends on what they're eating to how they taste.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not a fond of bottom dwellers. I just find them to be too muddy.
Yep.
But that is just but that's just me.
It depends on what they're eating, and it depends on how you process it, and then how you cook it. It all goes hand in hand. Right. Somebody was talking the other day, and it's something that my husband and I talk about all the time, is how you care for the wild game that you're harvesting, from the point of shot, from you releasing the shot, the placement of that shot, to how you are field dressing, butchering out, how clean you're keeping everything, how quickly it can be put on ice. It all goes into how it is going to taste in the end.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're very true on that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I want to hear a little bit. You gave us a little hint into how the blog started and all of that, but give us a little bit of insight into Wilderness to Table, and how that has grown.
Oh my God. Well, I never thought that this is what this little thing that was going to take off like this.
Mm-hmm.
My blog soon turned into like I was writing for magazines, and then my producer found me, and then we were filming a show, and then it did, and then it just hasn't stopped, and then more magazines I've done, and then now my first cookbook's coming out in the fall, and so it's been a awesome ride so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought this was going to happen, and I'm joyfully very excited to show people what food really should taste like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my mission, is to, like, I'm not a very big person, and I do get asked a lot on like, what do you do? Do you diet? How are you a chef? Like, how are you so small? And I'm just like, I don't take any supplements. I just eat real food.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all it is. I hardly eat any packaged food, and it's all about like wild game and what we should be eating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really passionate about like food is medicine, and wild game is a great medicine, and it can heal you, and it can make your body better, and it nourishes you in a way that factory farm meat can't. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my whole mission, is to show it that in a beautiful light, that not all hunters are evil. Like if you can eat a burger from McDonald's, then you shouldn't bash the hunter going out to source her own food.
Right.
So that's been my biggest challenge, a big challenge too. But mainly I'm focusing on pure organic, the beauty of it, of organic meat. Because how can we praise a farmer for organic produce, but yet we can't praise a hunter for sourcing their meat for their family that way? So it's just,
yeah.
So that's kind of my mission statement for Wilderness to Table. A long one, but that's it.
Well, no, I think that it's talked about a lot in our community, your reason of why you hunt. Britt Longoria brings that up. I've talked with her about that before. And it's something to keep close to your heart, because you will be asked by someone who either isn't a hunter or is against hunting, and they will, well, why do you do it? And if you don't know that answer definitively, then
I wish more people would ask me. Usually they just yell at me.
I know. It's
they don't even ask.
I love having that conversation with people. I love being able to explain, it is for food. It is for providing for my family, for myself, food that I know where it comes from. It's also a tradition that's nice to pass down to the next generation so that they can take care of themselves. There's a lot that goes into it, but knowing that why is truly important. So for people to be able to hear that, it changes how they can view where you're coming from. So I'm glad that you know that why, because it's like you said, you don't get a whole lot of questions, you get a lot of attacks, and it's not always pretty.
Yeah, not always pretty.
No, it's not. How has getting into this and growing this, how has the hunting and outdoor community accepted that? I know that we've talked a little bit about, the questioning, do you really hunt? But there's also a great side to it as well.
No, the blog was about, I got really upset because you have people in the hunting industry, which we're all on the same team, and they're saying, oh, you're not a real hunter. And I'm like, why am I not a real hunter? Because in their eyes, if I don't post all the trophy pictures, I'm not a hunter. And that just baffled me. I'm like, I just find it, my view is very different on it. Mm-hmm. I am hunting to eat. I have full respect for the animal. That animal actually never leaves my hands. I will gut it. I will butcher it. I cook it. I feed it to my family. Versus doing it for the gram. I don't do that. The trophy is on my table.
Right.
If it's not, in my opinion, posting like with a great big animal, is it really being that respectful? You know? And now we're really calling other people out because we don't do that. I'm not bashing people who do. That's my point of view. But I'm like, but that doesn't make me any less of a hunter. I'm like, I didn't know it was like a title.
No.
To earn.
And if you think about it, each person has their own, like we were saying, their own reason why. You are a chef. That is your art. That's why you are doing this, is to bring this into your family and to eat good, sustainable food. And you cooking it shows where your passion is. It shows where your art is. It shows where your why is. So like you said, putting it on the table and creating a masterpiece is your trophy. It is your final product. And like you said, I don't think you can bash that. It's just another view of somebody's reasons of why. And you until you walk in somebody else's shoes, you can't get that. It's
well, the article was more about why the hunting industry or fellow hunters are bashing somebody for not posting a trophy picture. Right. So that it's not about what my why is. It's more about that doesn't make sense to me. Right. Hunting is not a profession. You know what I mean? It's not like you can go to college for it and get a degree. I mean, you can get conservation degrees, which is amazing. But it's we're not doing each other justice in a world where we have to defend ourselves a lot, no matter what you hunt. You know, it's so calling someone not a real hunter. I mean, then tell me what a real one is.
Right. Right.
It's like that's your version of hunting. That's why they hunt, or I guess that's what, it just didn't make sense when I was being called like, oh, you're not a real hunter. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. Am I trying to be like a star hunter? No. I'm just trying to make beautiful food.
Just let me do it my way. It's
yeah, which I'm like in an area where like our guns are like our Second Amendment is under attack. Like, why are we attacking each other? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, we need to support all whys of hunting.
It's true.
So it just I didn't understand that, and I got a little fed up, so I wrote that article.
Good for you. No, I think that it is something to put out there, and I understand where your article's coming from. I also see how your reason for that article does coincide with the reason of why you hunt, and I think that again it goes back to, like you said, support. Let's support each other in the different ways that we hunt, in the different ways that we portray things, in the different ways of how we post things. And it's different for everybody. So instead of separating our community, we should be more including everybody and standing behind each other, no matter how different we are.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's step back just a little bit. And we have talked a little bit about going from field or woods to table. But one of the questions that I would like to ask is, what is your favorite wild game to cook? And can you take us kind of from the beginning of it, from the hunt, all the way to serving it on the table?
I don't necessarily have a favorite wild game to cook. Usually my favorite wild game dishes are usually always at like a hunt camp, where it just tastes so good. And then I go home and I get to create fancy dishes. I mean, the best hunting memories I have, which I just absolutely love, is upland game hunting with my dog Remi, because she's like my BFF sidekick, and we do everything together, and we hunt together. And so to me, it's like, oh, that quail or that pheasant, whatever that she got, taste so much better. That's probably my favorite. I don't necessarily like I love whatever I'm blessed to get, I generally love. So but I would say, yeah, pheasant, there's nothing like a good pheasant that your dog brought you and you worked hard. You like work months to train with your dog and you're out there and then you finally, get one and you're so proud. And for some reason it tastes so much better.
No, I agree with that. There's something about that personal touch and the hard work that goes into it that I don't know.
Especially when a dog is involved for some reason, because it's like you teamed up and you had to learn to work with each other to do this.
It's true.
And their instincts are like so spot on. It's just so freaking amazing to watch bird dogs do what they do. I mean, it is ingrained in them, but I just love it. I mean, I just love my dog. I'm kind of obsessed with her.
That's okay. You were talking to a fellow dog owner. We have 2 and they are my babies. One is 90 pounds, but he's still my baby. But I know
when I get comments on Instagram, I'm like, oh, you love Remi? If you want to see more Remi, okay, I'll post it.
Yes. They're easy to fall in love with. I've had the opportunity to duck hunt this year with a friend, Jackie, and her dog, Miss Molly. And it was Miss Molly's first official duck hunt with a group of people and on the water and coming out of a boat. And so it was exhilarating to watch as the shotgun goes off. She hits the boat. She knows that it's time to go. Her legs are shaking out of anticipation. Yep. Her whole body is excited. And then to see Jackie and Molly work together, it was like a well-oiled machine, even though she was new to getting out of a boat to get a duck and then coming back. So it was neat to watch her learn, to watch her grow. After the first day, she had droopy tail where she had been wagging it out of excitement all day that the muscles were fatigued. And it was so sweet to watch them work together and bring in the ducks and to be a team working together. It was really, really sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, so when I was watching your show, you had a great piece on how to break down your game in the field. And one of those was you had quail. Was it quail or pheasant in that one?
Quail.
Yes. And I think you see... So I watch YouTube videos. My husband has walked alongside of me in learning how to break down things. I've had girlfriends who have shown me out on a duck hunt how to break down a duck, which is very similar to the pheasant and quail. And so it was great to be able to watch that and for others to be able to come on and say, okay, how do I do this? What would be an easy way? Especially because you had it to where you could take the whole piece versus just breasting the bird out, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how have you gotten a lot of responses on that? Like, thank you so much. That was insightful. Or because coming from a chef, that means it means a lot more to me because I, as somebody who cooks my own food and my own wild game, I want to be able to preserve as much as possible that we can cook from.
Right. So I'm sorry, what's the question?
Have you gotten good responses from that? Or what was your inspiration?
I was sitting thinking about butchering and then yes, I did. I had such a great response on the butchering ones that actually I have some fun stuff coming up for the fall. That I've partnered up with a company, which I'll release soon.
Good.
And we're creating videos on how to butcher all types of wild game, including deer. So everything from big game to small game. So we'll be doing pheasants, turkey, even showing fish. I know I did a salmon, on my show, but there's 2 different types of fish, a flat fish and a round fish, and you have to know different cuts for both. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing a whole lot more of butchery centric in the field, and then post when you have it back in your kitchen in a big piece. Because my big philosophy is, as a chef, like, you have to understand what cut you want before you start butchering it in the field. Because if you want a rack of ribs and you just tear into it, well, you're not going to get it. And if you did take out that backstrap, you're not going to get certain cuts that you necessarily wanted. Or if you take it apart and stuff, like to pack it out. And so it's best, like, or are you going to grind most of it? Do you want ossobucos? Do you want, so it's kind of good to know what you want before you head into the field, which I hope I hope those classes will bring new perspectives to be like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it makes a difference because, like you said, coming into cooking wild game, a lot of people, it's either I'm going to fry it, grill it, make it into a popper, or ground it. And there's
so much more.
So many other different ways. But like you said, it depends on how you are butchering it in the field to how you are going to prepare it at the house in different ways.
In the pan, yep.
Yeah. And I want to be able to have multiple different ways to prepare it, because as good as it is, you can get kind of bored of it. And I have our favorite things our recipes that we use over and over and over and over. But every once in a while, it's really nice to be able to throw in something special, something that's different, that like the Wellingtons, to be able to use to be able to cook or smoke a whole quail or pheasant. And if you just breast it out, you're missing some of the best part, in my opinion.
Correct. I completely agree. And which I hope certain cuts will produce certain flavors that are actually different than what if you had butchered it a different way. And is it a fast twitch muscle or is it a slow twitch muscle? Because you have to learn how to counteract that, because you can balance that out in the kitchen. But a lot of people don't even know what a fast twitch muscle is. So hopefully I'm going to teach them. So it'll be a whole butchery course, which will be really fun, because I think in a past life, I was a fishmonger. And because I can butcher fish like no tomorrow, even though deer are not fish, but I still find it equally as interesting.
Yeah. There's a history lesson behind, or not history, there's a science lesson behind it. That's how we introduced our kids to field dressing. Instead of it being this gross, yucky thing that is bloody and messy and not organized at all. I come from a medical background, and so being able to teach them all of the different parts organized and how everything works, it became a science lesson. It became an organized lesson in how to butcher and how to take things apart, and following the muscle lines and the tendon lines, and being able to get the better cuts by paying attention to the anatomy. Yeah. It makes you a better, I think it makes you a better hunter, because at that point in time, you are also learning where the shot should go, and in order to preserve what you're going to eat later. Shot, of course, should be the most humane shot possible. But there is also, watching your shoulder, watching with birds, watching that breast, so that you're keeping as much meat as possible. So it's, I don't know, that all of it goes hand in hand when you start bringing it full circle. It all applies and changes how you hunt, and
makes you a better hunter.
It does.
You know where to shoot, and so you got to train for it, because usually when the cut you want is the easiest cut to shoot at.
It's true.
So
it's very true.
You got to learn to be a better hunter.
Yep. It evolves you into a better hunter, and then teaching it to somebody else, whether you're mentoring or it's your child or spouse or friend, you're able to pass that knowledge on, and not just say, this is the place you should shoot, but the why you are shooting there, because you want to preserve the meat. You want to do the least amount of stress to them, because that also can change how your meat comes out in the end. So it's important. I'm excited about that. I didn't know about that. I can't wait.
Yeah. I'll be announcing it like on social media, and it's actually a current work in progress right now. That's one of my I just finished my cookbook, and before I start my second one, I'm doing those awesome videos that we have coming out. And so by early August, you'll be able to find out where to view those.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. This cookbook coming out in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how excited I am. I can probably tell you a huge amount of people who are also going to be very excited about it. Will it be wilderness to table, or is it something a little bit different?
It's completely wild game.
Okay.
It is all wild game, so it is definitely wilderness to table.
Mm-hmm.
I can't release the title yet.
That's okay.
And it is a massive beast. It's oh my God.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah. I think I turned in like 187 recipes.
Wow.
Total. That's just the recipe part. And then there's writing.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously writing in there. And then, so I cover everything from big game, which is, venison, elk, moose, bear, that, and then wild boar, and there's upland game. So quail, pheasant, chukar. And then there's fish. There's some game fish.
Mm-hmm.
There's waterfowl. So, I mean,
it's all of it.
I covered basically all the wild game possible, and then gave substitution. So if you don't have elk, then you can use venison and all that fun stuff. So it is completely wild game, and I'm super excited, and I hope y'all love the recipes. I have some really fun ones in there that I think people are going to really like. So
that'll be good. I love how, and this probably coincides with your recipe book coming out, but your cookbook that's coming out, but it's your show that you have out. It's on Amazon and iTunes. And I love the part of it that, because it shows, the beginning, your first course, to your main course, to dessert. And it kind of shows you how you can pair things together, because that might be a question that people have. Well, I have this venison. What do I pair with it? What sides do I do? You can only do green beans as many times as your family's going to eat them. You can only do mashed potatoes as many times as people are going to eat them. What are some of the things that you can put with these recipes of your main object there, your main course, your protein? What are some of these? What do you like to pair with, say, fish versus a red meat versus a white meat?
Oh gosh. I mean, my food philosophy is what grows together goes together.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever's in season is usually what I'm going to pair it up with. Like if it's fall venison, if I'm eating venison in fall, I love to eat it like with roast persimmons or make a persimmon sauce.
Mm-hmm.
That's my best way, because they're feasting on that. So, if I'm going to eat like frozen venison that like I harvested and I'm going to pull it out of the freezer like right now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pair it with peaches
Yes.
and basil all the way.
Yes.
And then, because that's what's growing right now, and that's actually what they're feeding on. So that's kind of how like my dishes get inspired. If it's like summertime fish, I'm usually, in the South, it's like a cool, like corn succotash or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But I'm really inspired I work with like a lot of local farmers here where I live. And so, it's really like what I got inspired by. Or I'm dangerous in like Whole Foods, because I think for Mother's Day, I told my husband, I was like, "Vicky, you could just take me to Whole Foods.
Yes.
It's fine. Like I can spend all day there. I can eat there. I can get a smoothie. I can get cake, and it's like a one-stop shopping for me."
Mm-hmm.
So I do get inspired by like what is local, what is in season, and usually I pair that. with my wild game, and it usually goes great.
Yeah. And you spoke about Whole Foods, but you also spoke about, farmers markets, shopping locally, finding a farmer who has a way that you can get packages of food in the spring, summer, and fall. And we did that one year, and it opened my mind to so many different sides, for lack of a better word, that you can pair with food, because not only are you supporting a local farmer, but you are also changing your mind and your taste buds to things that are A, fresh, and B, like you said, seasonal. So you are eating according to your season, and it's growing you as a cook. It's growing you as a chef, whoever you are. It's growing you into learning how to cook different foods.
Correct. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think fennel was one of the pieces that came in a basket to me one time, and I'd never cooked with fennel fresh, like raw fennel. It just came straight as it did out of the ground, and it was very intimidating looking at it. And I kept looking at it, and it was like, I'm going to use the tomatoes, I'm going to use whatever else is in that basket. And finally it came to the fennel. I was like, what am I going to do with this? And of course, I looked up a couple of different recipes and a couple of different reviews and how it would come out. And it ended up being one of my favorite meals. And
I love fennel. I eat it raw. I shave it and make coleslaw. I braise it. I roast it. I grill it. I'm like, fennel is a multi-purpose veggie.
Right? I did not realize how versatile it was. And it can go with a whole lot of different I
make
proteins.
Desserts with it. I do, yeah.
Between that and the avocado, I mean, we use avocado a lot. We've got an egg and a dairy allergy in our house. And so avocado changed our lives. It changed desserts. It changed, like in place of mayonnaise, it just completely changed the way we cooked when I started learning how to use an avocado. You can use it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You could eat it all day long.
Oh yeah, I love avocado. I'm from California, so oh man.
Yeah, I know. I had
an avocado today, actually.
When they go out of season and you're getting like the greenhouse kind, you can kind of tell it's like tomatoes. You can tell when.
Oh, I know. But at Costco, oh my gosh, they have these little. Oh my God, I don't know the brand. I'll have to give it to you. I'll have to send it to you.
Okay.
But they're these little cups, like little plastic cups, and they have smashed avocado. It's called it's smashed, and then all it has is salt and like little salt, pepper, and lemon just to keep the color, and that's it. No preservatives, no anything. I buy them like no tomorrow
because you can utilize them.
Yeah, and so I put it on toast. I make sauces. I make guacamole out. You mean you could? I'm a big proponent of avocado toast in the morning. I love it. And so if I don't have avocados, I have my Costco ones, and they're freaking phenomenal.
That's
love
good
it.
to know.
Way to go, Costco, on that one.
Huge shout out. That's a big.
Yeah.
That's a game changer too, because
learn from the wild game chef where to get avocado.
Well, hey, there are some times that you go, okay, I need an avocado now. And you get to the store, you get to wherever you're shopping for, and none of them are ripe.
It's not ready. No. Yeah.
So having a backup is kind of nice.
I know. Avocado is like right when you want to serve it, it's not ready. And then it's too late.
It's true. So. I have used avocado. I made a dark chocolate mousse with avocado, and I've used it as just a plain mousse, and I've made a pie out of it. And everybody that I've served it to, they cannot tell that there's avocado.
I've put it in smoothies. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and it's such a good fat. So yeah, it's just one of those. There's so many out there that are versatile like that, and fennel made me think of avocado. They're both so great. But without utilizing that farmer, without that coming in a basket where I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it, it would not have opened up my mind to different things.
Right. You wouldn't have bought the fennel at the grocery store.
I wouldn't have, because there are a lot of things that as you look at it, it can be intimidating. And I think that wild game can be that way. Whether you're, if you're not a hunter and somebody says, hey, do you want some of this? Instead of saying, yeah, I'd like to try that, sometimes it can feel a little intimidating. So if I am, sharing meat with someone, I like to send a recipe with them or send a how-to or links where they can find a great recipe to go with it, because it can seem intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So having a show like yours, having a cookbook this fall like yours, it's a great way to introduce people to wild game, which can then open their minds to acceptance, to encouragement. Right now, we're in a time where meat can be a little scary when it's processed outside of my home. That's how I look at it. Outside of knowing where I've touched it, it can be a little scary. So it's something to encourage people with, for sure.
And I'm trying to make it more approachable. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to say.
Yes.
So that everybody could try it. Like, oh, that's not off-putting. I'm going to try that.
Yeah. And it's
versus some dishes I can do that I've posted, like I know nobody's going to make, but it's just so pretty.
It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And a lot of them, and what I like to say, a lot of them, there are a lot of steps to it.
Yeah.
But they're not
like nobody's going to harvest chive blossoms and, and get microgreens and, like I'm obsessed with. So, or making a spuma. People are going to be like, what?
Yeah. What is a spuma? Fill us in really quick.
It's like a foam sauce.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no gelatin usually.
Okay. Which works out for people. There are people out there with gelatin allergies. So it's nice to have a sauce that you don't have that in.
Well, anytime you make a foam as a chef, like you usually add gelatin to stabilize it. But in a spuma, you don't. So it's like served a la minute, which is like at last minute, like table side or something like that.
Yes.
So you get like the cool bubbles. Oh my God.
It's all fancy.
Yeah, it's fancy. I come from fine dining, so I'm used to that, which I love because like I also have a degree in art and photography. Mm-hmm. I have 2 bachelor's degrees and one of them is in art. So I'm like, I really think that art, like food is art as well. So like on the plate, I am totally that person.
Yep. And that's okay. That's perfectly
makes my plates pretty. And sometimes I have to like hone it in and be like, I have to make it approachable. Mm-hmm. So I do have to reel myself back and be like, okay, what would the mom at home want to make?
Oh yeah. It's important to make it relatable. But it's also, dadgummit, I want my plates to look pretty too. And I want to have the option to view something and make it look similar or be inspired to create something that is similar in respect to the picture of it, to somebody sitting down going, wow, this isn't just it's not all monochromatic. Like there's a lot going on here that is beautiful, because I think you've said it before, you eat with your eyes first.
Yes.
So it's important to me that it looks nice, because I have 2 children that if it doesn't look nice, they're going to question it.
Right.
They're my biggest critics, I would have to say, and not because they don't like trying new things, but because
they eat with their eyes first.
They eat with their eyes first, and they watch all of these cooking shows, so they know the vocabulary.
My daughter watches Food Network too, so she like loves it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is if I get to the dinner table and we all sit down and they go, wow, Mom, this looks beautiful. And then the next thing out of their mouth is, and it tastes good too. I've won the meal. It's the night is over. I can put my feet up anything else could go wrong, and my night has been made.
Yep, girl, I've been there. I've cut my carrots and like with a little cherry blossom cutter so that they look cute. Yeah, whatever to get them to eat the vegetables. I'm
it's true. It's very true.
Make panda rolls. Yeah.
All of it. You do whatever you can to introduce them to new foods. And and I think that that's with everybody, not just kids. So it works. Whatever the beauty on a plate works. It really does. Okay, you have been able to travel around. You've been able, like you said, talking about British Columbia, California, the South, whether you're hunting, cooking, wherever, where has been, I mean, are you still a Cali girl? Like, do you miss sometimes the produce and what California can give, or do you have another favorite place?
I miss, I have travel's a huge question for me because I have traveled a lot. My husband's a pilot, so we have traveled an insane amount. We've been all over the world, and from California, the number one thing I miss is the mixing of cultures, and that you can get Mexican food, like real authentic Mexican food, and then across the street go get real authentic Japanese food, or I feel like Korean food, or I want Ethiopian food. So you can like travel to different places within California, like go to like, what does this country taste like? I miss that, but I travel, like I my best philosophy, or anyone who like my students or say, well, chef, how do I become a better chef? And I'm like, it's to travel. If you are young and you are wanting to be a chef, go travel, go get jobs in kitchens randomly in different countries and different places. It is the most rewarding thing ever. I've worked in Paris and it was amazing. And I've traveled all over the world. And the best thing you do is eat what's local and see how they're cooking it and their cooking techniques, because that tells a lot about the culture, because I feel like food is the best way to learn about a place. So I actually eat a lot when I travel.
Well, there's tradition behind it. There's stories behind it. You're not just learning a recipe from a different country or a different culture. You're learning their lifestyle. You're learning how they cook, what they are feeding you. And it's, you talk a lot about Italy in the videos that I've seen, in the shows that I've seen, and your love for cheese and your love for how they make,
I love cheese.
how they make things, how things are different. You've got whipped cream in some places, and you've got, what is it that when you mix sour cream and like a cream cheese, that is what is that? It's the texture of it. It's like a whipped cream, but it's
it's supposed to be like a mascarpone.
Yes.
If you can't find a mascarpone, that's what you can do.
Yes.
To sub out. Yeah.
Yeah. Ricotta cheese. I mean, there are so many different things.
I based a whole salad off of that on my show, off of my love for ricotta cheese.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And it immediately takes you back to where you were. You remember the sounds, you remember the sights, you remember the smells, you remember all of that by eating something familiar to that moment.
That's why I always tell my husband, I'm like, honey, I don't need a fancy handbag. Just take me somewhere. Because I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I can tell you when I ate the world's best croissant, and when I ate like my first bratwurst in Germany and drank my first German beer, or like when I was in Israel and had like the most amazing cuisine ever. You know, it's like it's I can remember all that. I'll forget the verse.
Yes. No, I get that. There are a lot of memories in our home. in the kitchen and around our dinner table. But there are a lot of memories elsewhere too, wherever we travel, that we remember those meals. And a lot of it has to do with the food, and then parts of it have to do with the company. And so you remember.
Oh yeah, food is the best memories. I mean, it's an amazing thing that how it bonds everybody, and like you can always remember Christmas dinners with your family. You can't remember what you did during the week, but you remember those. You know, I think it's a pretty powerful, special, awesome tool. I mean, it's not a tool, it's a necessity, but it's a great thing that it's, we can translate it into like what's happening right now. And it's just so amazing. Like if you break down all those barriers and just had everybody congregates in the kitchen, have everybody in the kitchen making food and like laughing and having a good time. It doesn't matter what you look like, what color you are, or like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, you're just having a great time. Like the kitchen is like a no bias zone for me.
It's true.
I love it. And you just remember the best memories and you're talking, and it's freaking awesome.
It's very true. I think I can compare, because those are my two loves. I love to be in the outdoors. I love hunting and fishing, but I also love being in the kitchen and cooking. And I think it's because it combines all of my sense, all of, the sense of smell, my vision, my touch, like everything is combined in both of those things. And I think it awakens those senses. And I think that's why our memories are so strong in those moments, because every little bitty hair on my arm is up in excitement over those two things. And so my best memories are in both of those areas, and they will stick with me forever.
I love that.
Yes. Well, Bree, thank you for hanging out. And I'm excited to see what's coming next. I'm excited about the cookbook this fall. I'm truly excited about the butchering that's coming out. That I can't wait. Please keep us posted on that.
I have a lot of fun things coming out. There's way more I just can't say right now.
Dadgummit.
But
Okay.
I'll release them on the social media, but I can. Yeah, the hunting videos are coming out. That'll be really cool. And my cookbook, which I hope everybody likes.
Yes. Well, tell everybody how.
Took me forever.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Tell us how we can keep in touch with you, how people can follow you so that we can keep up to date with everything that's new coming out.
So everything can be found on my website at wilderness2table.com. And you can also follow me on pretty much all social media handles at Wilderness to Table.
Okay.
So that's where you'll find out. I will release I'm big on Instagram. It's hard for me to get every single social media.
Yeah.
So that's where I would usually post all the cool things that are coming out. And the cookbook will be out prior to Thanksgiving.
Perfect.
So it solves all your Christmas shopping right there.
I already know what to put on my list for Christmas.
So I made it easy for everybody.
Okay, perfect. Well, Bree, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Make sure you are following Bree on wilderness2table.com or all of the social medias. Look for Wilderness to Table. Make sure you're keeping in touch and follow along so that you can get the dates to the cookbook and all of everything new that she has coming out soon.